All right, we're finally to the last step, last video on our emergency shelter. As you can see from, if you've watched the previous videos, I've lowered this to the ground. This is probably about 2.5 feet off the ground, maybe. We're not about comfort right now. If you want to be comfortable, bring the right gear with you. This is strictly survival. I'm creating an emergency expedient survival shelter. I can set this up in maybe 5-10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, and it's meant to tuck me out of the weather, out of the rain, out of the snow. I got a place, a warm, dry place to sleep at night. Should I be stuck out in the backcountry and something go wrong and I need to spend the night. All right, so I need to pin these back corners to the bottom or to the ground. I want this bottom edge to touch the ground. I don't want any airflow going underneath. So first off, I'm gonna start off with a backcountry button again, like I did here. Watch the previous videos if you don't know how to do the backcountry buttons. I'm gonna use a slightly different knot this time so I can teach you a different knot. This was the lark's head right here, lark's head knot off of the pressic. This is the pressic that slides back and forth. Pressic knot, backcountry button with a lark's head. I'm gonna show you how to do this with a clove hitch on this last corner. All right, so the knot that I'm gonna show you is called the clove hitch. I'm gonna show you this way and then I'll flip around and so you can see it from my point of view. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking and making a loop. I'm making another loop, and this, for me, the loop on my right side, this loop here, goes behind it, behind the loop on the left, which creates one loop. I'm gonna take the corner of my tarp, I'm gonna put something in it, pine cone, chunk of dirt, piece of old cold charcoal, and I'm gonna make a button, and then I'm going to take that loop that I created and I'm going to pull it around there. So that is secure. That's going to hold it tight. Again, do not pull on this real hard. You will tear this Mylar blanket. So what I'm probably going to do is, we'll say about 6 feet of rope. Probably going to be way too much. Because it's going to be directly on the ground, but make sure I have enough. So I got 6 feet of rope. So now I'm going to do this on the other side. I'm going to leave this one like it is, and I'm going to show you a different angle on how to do that clove hitch from your point of view. So, all right, let's go. All right, here's the clove hitch, how you would see it. Got my short end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and make a loop, and then I'm going to make another loop right next to it. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. Make a loop, make another loop. Notice which side goes over top of the other one. These are exactly the same. And then the right loop goes behind the left loop. Now I've taken those two loops and made a single loop. Now I'm going to take my Mylar blanket, and then I'm going to take something for a button. This is an old piece of cold charred wood, and I'm going to wad it up and make a button, and this just feeds over top of it. Pull that tight, it secures it in place. So now I've got this secured on there. If I'm using a tarp, I'm just going to thread a loop through the grommets and use a toggle. But that's a backcountry button on a Mylar blanket, something that doesn't have grommets in it. Or maybe your tarp tore, the corner of your tarp tore out, and you need to fasten your paracord to something that doesn't have anything to fasten it to. All right, now I want to secure this to the ground. I could get very simple and just tie a loop in here, drive a stake into the ground. I'm going to use a metal stake for expediency. If you had to, you could whittle out a stake out of a stick and just drive that into the ground. But I would come out at roughly a 45-degree angle from here so that it pulls it out this way and down this way. Just for simplicity's sake, I will show you how to do it with just a loop. We're gonna put our stake in there. This stake, make sure you have it angling away from your tarp. If you have it angling this way, it's just, the rope is just simply gonna slip off. Get yourself something to pound your stake into the ground with. And we want this as close to the ground as possible. So this is the simple method, nothing super fancy about it. That's gonna be nice and solid. With a larger tarp, you might wanna be to adjust this. So I'm gonna show you an adjustable hitch that will allow you to change the tension on this tarp. We'll do that on the other corner. All right, I got to get down and dirty on this one so I can show you what's going on. Now, this again is at a 45-degree angle from my tarp. I'll get up here in a minute and show you, but what I'm going to do is this first, drive the stake into the ground. Now, what I'm going to do is going to give this some slack and be a little bit sloppy here. I'm going to loop this around the stake. So I've got a loop here. Now I'm going to coil this rope, the short end, the one that's not attached to anything, around the line that's attached to the tarp. I'm going to go around this about 6 times. So there's one. Try to keep my fingers out of the way. And I'm starting on the uphill side, the tarp side, and I'm working towards the stake. So I'm just looping these around. There's 2, 3. I can do as many as I want, but usually I try to do about 6. So you can see I'm just coiling it around and around. We'll do more so you can see what I'm doing. A little hard here to keep my stupid fingers out of the way. But you can see it's just around and around and around. And the final loop around, I'm going to make a bite in a rope. Bite is just a bend. Now I've created a loop, right? And all I'm going to do is reach through this loop and pull a loop through a loop. This is a half hitch. And there we go. That's what it looks like. Again, I like my toggle, so I'm going to take and put my toggle through there. I'm going to pull that down on that, and that secures that so it's not going to go anywhere. Now, I can take and slide my rope, and it cinches up. So now we've got this tight. This is a little loose here, so I'm just going to adjust my knot. I'll have to undo it and redo it and just give a little bit less slack. It'll be easier when I don't have to try to do it for the camera. So there's the adjustable tarp taut line. There's my clove hitch on a backcountry button. There's a clove hitch, a backcountry button just with the overhand knot tied right into the ground. But here is my emergency shelter in all its glory, or lack thereof. So as you can see, it's pretty low to the ground, but that's all I want. I want to be able to crawl underneath there. The smaller the shelter is, the easier it is to stay warm, right? So there I go. an emergency shelter. Now I can get out of the weather, build me a little fire, spend the night here if I had to. Again, not meant to be comfortable. It's meant to keep you alive. Hopefully you learned something. See you again next time.